Well, hi everyone, out again today on the bike. It's been a while because it has been absolutely chucking it down with rain here for such a long time. It sort of felt like the whole month of July was just rain all the time, and didn't get out on the bike very much at all because of all of that rain. Traffic today is a little bit kind of busy on the roads. I'm up and about in the sort of Skipton area at the minute, in the hills and the vales around here. There's some fantastic scenery around here and very green and lush fields with all the rain that we've had. So lots to see, and it's kind of, what time is it now? Let's have a look. It's 2:30, so it's sort of mid-afternoonish. Of course, I'm going to have to sort of get back, I think, before all the rush hour traffic comes along. So what I'm going to do is have a bit of a ride about on the bike and film it as usual, waffling along with all the usual things. So let's go do that. Some nice kind of little bits of road around here for the old motorbiking stuff. Now I'm hoping you can hear me actually, because I've just realised that I haven't put the little fluffy thing on top of the microphone in the helmet. And when you've not got your little fluffy thing on the bike, sometimes you get a little bit of the old wind noise. So let's see if it sort of frames up without having that little windshield thing on. I should have cleaned this windscreen as well for you, shouldn't I? Because that was one thing I forgot to do. So at the minute anyway, where am I headed? I'm headed up towards Grassington, just for a nice little steady runabout. Let's take it nice and easy as always. No point in racing myself. Just great to get out. I mean, as I say, it has been raining here in Yorkshire, and I think actually up and down the country, for something to do with the jet stream or whatever being in a slightly different position to what it normally is, and therefore we have had sort of reasonable mild temperatures here, whereas in other places in Europe and the States and around the world there have been some significant sort of very high temperatures. Of course, here it's been anywhere between 17 degrees centigrade and 22 degrees centigrade for the last sort of 5 weeks, while everybody else has been baking hot. And for motorbiking, actually those temperatures would be perfect, other than the fact that it's been absolutely peeing it down with rain pretty much every day. Certainly every weekend in July was not a biking weekend. So these are the first sort of consecutive days. It's a Tuesday today, and what is it, the 9th of August, I think, as I'm recording this. So yesterday was sort of okay. Today's a little bit sunnier. The next couple of days are forecast to be dry, and actually the temperatures are getting higher, kind of more like the 23 to 25 range. So I might get out a couple of times this week on the bike because I'm not working, and that's a whole other story why I'm not working, and I probably will go into that at some point, but for this video I'm not going to go into it in much detail, other than to say I was planning to retire early at the end of either this year or take a sabbatical from my full-time job at the end of this year, and then decide during that year away from work whether I was going to retire early or not, and basically live off savings and pension. But due to one or two significant little things that were happening at work, I decided to cut that short and resign early. That means I've got 6 months to cover before I can touch my pension, and therefore a little bit careful with the old spending for a while. So while I'm going to be out doing a few things on the bike here and there, carrying on making videos and stuff, because I've got loads of time to do it, I also have to just watch the pennies. So just need to be a little bit careful for the next 6 months. I can get through it, but it's not going to be like I'm going on holiday every 5 minutes or out on the bike every day. But you've got to make the best of what's left of the summer, haven't you? It's now, as I say, like the 9th of August, so decent weather. We've got like another, what, 3 to 6 weeks max. Decent temperatures, decent weather, and then beyond that we're kind of getting in towards the autumn, back to December-ish, January and February, those quite cold months. I mean, these bikes, like this KTM 1290 Super Adventure S, do come with, in this case I've got the heated seat, heated grips. It's capable of riding in most conditions, obviously not ice or snow really. Now for some reason I don't know if you can hear that. You probably can't. Well, I'm guessing you can't because it's on a completely different system. But for some reason my my phone through the helmet has started playing rock music. I don't know if it's from the phone or from this GPS device or one or the other, but I've now got rock music blasting in my ears. I must have said a certain combination of words or something and it thought I was telling it. Alright then, so I managed to stop the music. I think it's taking the music from my iPhone, but it's controlling it through this Garmin system. And I can only assume that I said certain keywords that switched it on. I found it, I switched it off, and we're back on the road. So having a bit of a run around on the old KTM 1290 Adventure S. Beautiful sunny day. Watch the biker and the tractor or whatever it is, the JCB. Quite a few agricultural vehicles about, one or two cyclists today. And as I say, quite a few, not like weekend numbers of motorbikes, but quite a few motorbikes out and about too. Threshfield, little village here with a traditional red post box that I think is probably converted into something. They tend to convert these into little weird and wacky. Oh no, it's actually a telephone box with a telephone in it. Now that they are incredibly rare these days. Right, we're taking a right turn here because we're headed towards Grassington. We will go in and around or through Grassington and then Grassington Fire Station. So we'll go through Grassington for now. Have a bit of a ride about. If we go straight through here, we'll have a bit of a ride about and then at some point we'll turn around and come back. And as I say, I think we will grab a little coffee somewhere, have a break. Oh, seem to be speeding. Slow it down. Grassington is a nice little spot actually. If you've never been, it's not a huge village, but at one point they had some pretty nice restaurants here. Don't know now if that's still the case. It's kind of one of those places where every year it gets slightly more touristy, to the point where it kind of almost feels like they have to have more car parking spaces and traffic control and those kinds of things, which sort of take away from the like quaintness of places like this. But I suppose there's not a great deal that you can do to avoid that kind of stuff. If you want visitors to come and spend money, you also have to give them places to park and stuff, don't you? So it is what it is, as they say. But yeah, I'm doing well, enjoying the fact that I'm out on the bike today. What else have I been up to? I've been selling loads of stuff on eBay and listed one or two bits and pieces on Gumtree as well. Now that's the main street up there for Grassington. We're going through that at the minute, and then at some point we will head back there. So what I'm going to do is just cancel, if I can remember. I can't remember. Oh no, it's cancelled itself. I was going to cancel the instructions. Catching the camera there when I'm trying to open my visor. Still haven't got one of those. This is the car park I'll probably park it in when we come back. So yeah, we'll have a little ride about on the bike. Hopefully both of the cameras and the sound is working. And then when we've had a bit of a run around, we'll come back. So if you're from these parts and you're watching, let me know if there's any particular routes you like to go on. That would be good to know. Been around lots of places around here over the years. The Yorkshire Dales, the North York Moors, the Lake District. Got a car broken down or stopped here for some reason. Don't know which it is. Yeah, Derbyshire, the Peak District, you know, all of these different places, and going over towards the East Coast many times. West Coast less so. Blackpool occasionally, might try and squeeze in a visit to Blackpool. I haven't been there for, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years. And then you've got like Southport a little bit further down. That's a nice place, and also fairly biker friendly-ish when you get there at the weekends. There's a place called the Carousel there. Not a lot of sort of that, well, maybe it's changed a little bit. Maybe there are one or two biker cafes and things around there, but again, it's been, must be 5 years or more since I've been there. And I don't know whether I can afford to still. I was planning to relocate down south or further south for my early retirement, just to really try and get better weather. So I suppose what I could do is I could buy a house and then relocate down there, but then have to work for, say, another 5 years. But that doesn't really give me the benefit of not having to work, does it, at all? So we'll have to see. So talk a little bit about the Garmin XT2 satnav. It sort of does everything that every other satnav that I've had has done. It does it better. It's got a bigger screen. It's got a really clear screen in the sunshine. You can see all the time. It has got a glossy screen, so you do see a little bit of reflection in there. And it also comes with the ability to pair it up with your phone as In fact, the last 2 or 3, in fact, even down to the Zumo, I think it's the Zumo 360, I think it was called, can't remember, that I used to have previously from Garmin, and all the way back to the TomTom Rider 1 that I had right at the beginning, before Garmin started doing these motorbike ones. I've all had the ability to sort of connect your phone and make telephone calls and receive them and things if you've got a headset in your helmet. But in addition to that, it has got this app on the phone called Threads, I think it's called, where you can go in there and sort of plot out, and you can also put it on an iPad, so if you want like a bigger view of what you're watching, and you can go in and plot out the trip you want to set up. You put in a start point and end point, and then you can do routing, or I think it's called shaping in this. Now you can either do that on the screen itself, and because it is a fairly big screen, that's pretty easy to do, or you can do it on your phone, or as I say, you can do it on a tablet, certainly on an iPad, and then you just synchronize it, and it gets through presumably Bluetooth, or I think it actually uses Wi-Fi, and as long as you're in range of the Wi-Fi network, it just transfers that trip across. It might also be Bluetooth, so that if you're not anywhere near your Wi-Fi network, it still connects. Don't know quite how it does that, haven't thoroughly looked into it, but long story short is you can put in a route on your phone and just synchronize it to that. And I remember in the past how awkward certain tasks on the Garmin's were. You know, you'd like do a map download of the latest maps for Europe, and suddenly the size of the map file was bigger than the memory on board of the device, and so then you had to go out and put an SD card in and all the rest of it. So software wise, definitely seem to have come a hell of a long way. Screen quality wise is fantastic, and so far, touch metal, the sort of reliability or stability of it as well seems to be way better than previous devices that I have had. I mean, I've got like the BMW Navigator 6 at home on the shelf. It's probably another thing I've got to get on eBay and sell, but you know, with that and the previous, the Nav 5 and just about the Zumo that I used to have, all of them would like occasionally go a bit wonky, and the only way you could get them to like restabilize was to go in there and do like a, it's not a hard reset but a soft reset, and then it would clear up, and then you'd be fine for another week or so, and then it would do it again. And that seemed to be something that I've had an experience of with those devices, and other people have said it too. So this one doesn't seem to have any of that yet. I mean, I've not been on it, as I say, I've not been on my bike like for thousands of miles with it, but in the 2 or 3 trips that I have used it, it's been perfectly fine so far. Should I be overtaking this little car, because he's taking it very easy, isn't he? Let's see what sort of a view I've got here. Yes, we can. There we go. Cleared out a bit of space. We're ready to race. To watch out for the old sheep around here as well. Sometimes you'll get to the brow of a hill like this, you'll get to the other side of it, and there'll be a sheep smack bang in the middle of the road. It's often a bit sort of deceiving on these roads as well. Sometimes you can think, oh, it's absolutely clear, and you don't actually see the brow of a hill, and then suddenly a car pops up out of nowhere, That was down in the dip and you didn't see it. Oh, big fly splattered on the visor. So yeah, it's a brilliant little day for getting out and about, and of course we're not working now, at the moment at least. Life feels very different, you know, if you've worked as I have pretty much all of my life, you get into almost like an institutional routine, albeit in the last sort of 3 years or so I've been largely working from home, so some of those original having to get up every day very early, commuting to work, sometimes to London, sometimes to Edinburgh and all the rest of it, stopped really pretty much 3 years ago, but with the pandemic. But notwithstanding that, still you do similar things on similar days each week. You spend time absolutely glued to a screen, constantly on conference calls and Teams meetings and various other things, and then when all of that comes to an end, suddenly you've got all this freedom. You could say free time, but also it feels like you've bought your freedom leaving. Now, me leaving 6 months early, I've lost a lot of money for various reasons. You know, into my pension I've lost a lot of money, just in salary terms I've lost a lot of money, but apart from that I've gained freedom, you know. Life is very short, and actually as you start to get older you realise that a lot of the things that you would often put off and say, right, okay, well, yeah, I'd love to do that one day, I'd love to do that one day, and then you sort of get to 50 and it's like, oh, right, okay, when is one day going to be? So you've got to, excuse me, so you kind of get to 50 and you think, when is one day going to be? And so you've got to start making those 1 days 2 days really. Or 2 day now. Where are we? In the middle of what looks like moorland now. Green How. Just take it steady, it's a 40 round here. Few tighter bends here. Oh, little bunny, little baby rabbit there. Tiny little thing, if you saw that. Got to look after the wildlife in places like this. I'm always very aware, or trying to be very aware. Look, sheep all in there. The cows. Loads of kind of wide open moors out there to the left and probably to the right as well. Certainly in the foreseeable distance. All seems to be moorland. Water tower up there for something. Maybe this little village-ette. That was saying blubber houses that way. So on my way back home I've got to think, do I take a different route because of all of those traffic lights that I mentioned, making the journey quite heavy going? Don't know. Really don't fancy going down on something like the M6 or whatever, although I could track across to that. So I might have to just sit down and just cover the horn here. Might have to sit down and work out what my route home's going to be. Look at that view. Fantastic little bit of scenery for the old eyes. It's almost like sensation of flying when you kind of level up here and you're looking out down there. I haven't flown an aeroplane for quite a few years. I used to fly single engine propeller aeroplanes privately some years ago. I haven't been flying for a while. This is kind of the nearest I get to it nowadays. Grenhow Hill, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Greenhow. It's certainly green over there, some of those fields, more moorlands around here. Or maybe it's just this bit is green and they're saying, well, how is that green wherever it... Green how? So what time is it now? It's just after 3 o'clock, so I think what I need to do is start heading back home. So what I'm going to do is turn around, bright eyes every now and then, and head back to Grassington. So let's find somewhere I can do that without disturbing everything. See if there's somewhere to pull over, and then what I might do actually, because it is a little bit later now, it is after 3 PM and I don't really want to get caught up in all of the traffic. Is I could go a different route, not go to Grassington. Maybe head and grab some food somewhere, perhaps even like a, dare I say it, McDonald's again. Is there anywhere I can pull over? That looks like somebody's house, so I don't really want to inconvenience them by pulling over there. Would be a little place to stop somewhere, wouldn't it? What about just here for a second? Alright then, so we've got a new track in the GPS. I have just started now. Rather than going to Grassington, I am just following it to get home. It's saying I'll get there for 4:30, so I'm still going to end up kind of being stuck in traffic a little bit, I think. I just don't want the combination of being stuck in rush hour traffic and also all of those roadworks that were there coming this way. I could see that the traffic going in the opposite direction, even at that time in the sort of early afternoon, was absolutely chock-a-block, queued back for miles and miles. So where are we here? What is this little place? Don't know what this little place is here. And some of those bikes don't want to nod for the life in them. So we're following the road around here. Just wonder where this is. It's Ripon Road. It's not familiar with that little village, what it is. Trying to see what it's... Oh, it's Pateley Bridge. It seems to say Pateley Bridge on the... Look at the dust off this. Some nice little tree-lined roads around here. We're behind a bus. Didn't just want to go around him at the point where he was trying to, by the time I got a clear route to get around him, he was indicating to go out, so I thought, well, let him go. No rush for me. So on the way back, I might stop at somewhere like a McDonald's or that kind of thing. I'm going to end up to a degree getting stuck in some kind of rushish, or at least the school run traffic. Which could, you know, will start in like 20 minutes from now, so I can't avoid some level of traffic. But I am just in that kind of chilled out sort of mood really, rather than in a rush kind of mood. So Knaresborough Harrogate, straight forward. So that's probably going to take me Leedsy kind of way, or Bradfordy kind of way on the way back. I imagine. Bit of a lumpy and bumpy kind of surface here. So yeah, I got the luggage on the bike today as well. Got loads of water on board because my original intention was to set off earlier and head up to the Lake District. And then I got... Ooh, what was going on there? Sort of wheel wobble for some reason. I don't know if that was the road surface that did that or what, but I don't know if you saw it in the on the camera. Just have to check the front wheels tight. What that was all about. What was I saying? Yeah, my intention was to set off earlier today and actually head up to the Lake District, and I ended up getting one or two distractions that I had to sort out. I had to post a parcel of something I sold on eBay and one or two other things, and by the time I got those jobs done, it was like, yes, there's something wrong now with the front end of the bike. I'm going to have to... The whole front end of the bike has started wobbling at a certain speed, So I'm definitely going to have to try and find somewhere to stop and check out what the heck is going on with that. Should have a toolkit if for some reason the wheel is loose, but if the wheel is loose, or is it that the tyre's flat or something? Let me see. Don't know where the is that the hazards there, is it? Let's just pull that on a second like that. What is wrong with this then? Very weird. Not sure what's wrong with that. The whole of the front of the bike was kind of like wobbling at, what was it, about sort of just 20 miles an hour. No idea what happened there. I have to just gonna have to just see, just have to keep an eye on that. If it carries on, might have to get it taken on the back of a truck or something, because I'm not going to be going at high speeds. I've never had that experience before. I mean, I don't know if that actually came across on the camera, but it was like the kind of about this speed seemed to be when I was going downhill each time it happened. Like the whole bars would oscillate left and right. Surely that on two separate occasions couldn't be as a result of the road surface, could it? Never had that on a bike before. Well, as I was saying earlier, the bike has previously ridden really well with no concerns at all, so maybe on my list of concerns, or at least questions, that is the first one. Now the only thing I didn't check there when I stopped was whether so I checked the head bearing, I checked the wheel as much as you can in the awkward place I was at to see if the wheel was fastened in. It seemed to be. The tyre seemed to have the right, there was lots of pressure in the tyre, and The only thing I didn't check was the entire surface around the whole of the tyre, so I suppose that would be something I should look out for, or should look at even. But then if the tyre surface had a bubble on it or something, then I would surely notice it all the time, not just like on those 2 occasions. It's really weird. Well, let's just put it for now on the back shelf and see what happens. See if it repeats itself. I mean, at the minute it seems to be fine. I don't know what on earth that was. It was almost like when I talked earlier about flying aeroplanes, but every now and then, and this would be like, you know, 1 in 50 landings or something like that, every now and then you get like what I think was called a caster effect on the front nose wheel of the aeroplane. So the plane would touch down on the wheels at the back, and then particularly on like a grass runway, if you caught just like a little high spot as what you tend to do is hold off the nose as you kind of trying to bleed off power. As you've touched the main wheels down and you're trying to just bleed off power, you're holding the nose back up a little bit by pulling back on the stick. But then if the front wheel just happened to catch a higher spot on the grass runway, it would like start it spinning, and sometimes you get like that caster effect. Like you know, I don't know if you've ever had that on a supermarket trolley where it kind of goes left and right, wobbles left and right. And I don't know if somehow just then that's what I was getting on this bike. It just seems like a very unusual experience at that kind of speed, and I don't know, I've not experienced it before. I can't explain it. I'm just hoping the wheel isn't going to fall off, because that wouldn't end well. Anyway, enough of that. So, what am I doing now? I am just starting to head back home through all of these little villages and little kind of groupings and gatherings of houses here and there dotted around up in the hills of Yorkshire. So it's saying that's Otley down there where we are going. So we're definitely going to be going Otley way, so it's probably going to take me Otley Leeds or Otley Bradford, I would imagine. Otley's a nice little spot. Probably some coffee shops and things there I could have a bit of a break at. But if I did that, it would take me even further in to the rush hour traffic zone. That's the question. Do I just head straight home, or do I stop for a coffee? It's not like I've been out on the bike for hours, but well, I have been out on the bike now for a couple of hours, but would be nice to have a bit of a break. Seems to be cornering fine. Well, I'm not going to go terracing around. There's a couple of tight bends here. Just need to get confidence back on that front wheel again. Don't quite know what that was all about. It's even more of a mystery when you can't come up with like a rational explanation for why it did something that it did. And quite often when you've been riding for years, you have a back catalogue of experiences to go, ah yeah, that was like when you look in that back catalogue and there is no that was like then. It's kind of all new. Bit windier up here. Hopefully the helmet's stopping most of that getting to the microphone. Now on the left hand side you'll see the tops of what look like rather large golf balls. Did I say right hand side? Over there on the left. Which is a place called Memwith Hill. And it is a sort of an American UK base with listening devices, I think various radio antenna, lots of security. Don't think that's where they're hiding any of the UFOs that have landed, but who knows? Are there any UFOs in there? Maybe. It's all very secretive. I mean, could be, couldn't it? What do I know? Quite a big base actually, and just trying to feel this front wheel. Just feels a little bit kind of wooden somehow. I don't know what's going on. Could be this road surface. There is a weird kind of bit in the middle of the road where they've obviously dug a line up, probably to install all these security cameras down here, because they're bringing it all the way down the side of this big complex to the left. Okay, so Harrogate left, Skipton right, and actually one thing I didn't check was the brake calipers to see that they were both securely fastened. Can't remember who it was who told me that. He collected a bike after a service and the front wheel started wobbling in much the same way I just described, and he did a bit of a roadside check like I just did, but I think he eventually realised that the caliper was not correctly bolted on. So really that might be something I should check as well, because that's the only thing I can think that's left. So there's a little stopping spot just on the left down here, I think, if it's still there. So I can just have a look, check those calipers for safety. There we are, bit of a gravel spot to watch my footing. First gear grab. Down we go, off we get. Oh. I've got the preload up a little bit, so let's have a little look at these calipers. that's definitely fastened on fine. On that side, yep, both calipers absolutely fine. Wheel fine. Tyre surface, unless something temporarily got stuck to the tyre, that could have been a, if it had picked up some mud or something. Anyway, who knows. So I think for now that will do as our little ride and recording for today. Switch off the indicator, and there we are, KTM 1290 Adventure S, out for a little, albeit tiny, adventure up here in Yorkshire today. Thank you very much for joining me on this little, well, kind of nothing, possibly half an hour video with absolutely bugger all in it. But thank you anyway for watching. If you stay to the end, God knows why. Oh dear, look at that view over there between those lots of trees and bushes and weeds and things. As I say, thank you for watching. Take care of yourselves. If you ride bikes, ride safely, and we'll see you again soon. Bye bye for now.